Hey everyone, welcome back to GameGen. 2026 looks like a great year for strategy fans, with tons of new games that really mix things up. We're seeing everything from massive 4X worlds and classic RTS battles to creative hybrids that blend city building, management, and even godlike powers. What's cool is how these new strategy games are getting more immersive. I mean, you're not just moving units around a map anymore, you're running entire civilizations, navigating politics, and watching your decisions actually shape the world around you. So, in this video, we're taking a look at some of the most promising strategy games set to release in 2026. Whether you're enjoying planning every tiny detail, commanding huge armies, or just watching your empire grow, there's definitely something here that you'll want to keep an eye on. Alright, let's go ahead and jump in. Star Trek Voyager: Across the Unknown. Star Trek Voyager: Across the Unknown feels exactly like the kind of game that fans have been dreaming of for years. A deep, story-driven survival strategy experience that actually captures what made Voyager so special. Instead of just retelling the TV show, it throws you right into the captain's chair as Catherine Janeway, forcing you to lead the USS Voyager and its crew on that impossible 70,000 light-year journey home through the Delta Quadrant. At its core, this is a survival strategy game with roguelike elements. Think FTL Faster Than Light meets XCOM, but wrapped in classic Star Trek moral dilemmas. Every decision you make shapes your own non-canon version of the Voyager story. Will you stick to Federation principles or risk using Borg technology to survive? The consequences of those choices are permanent. And yes, crew members can die, morale can collapse, and your version of Voyager's journey might look a little different from anyone else's. Managing the ship itself, though, is half the challenge. You'll repair damaged decks, allocate engineers to critical systems, and balance scarce resources like fuel, food, and spare parts just to keep the ship flying. Every system you restore, from the warp drive to sickbay, is a strategic choice with trade-offs. Then there's the crew, characters like Tuvok, Torres, and Kim, who each have unique skills that you'll rely on for away missions and ship combat. Those away missions unfold like interactive stories, where choosing the wrong team or making a risky call could lead to disaster. Atre: Dominance Wars. So this one's called Atre: Dominance Wars, a dark fantasy strategy game that mixes 4X and real-time strategy with a bit of that god game vibe. You play as Elder, basically an immortal sorcerer trying to dominate a world that's constantly falling apart. The world of Atre is wild. It's made up of 4 dimensions that keep merging and reshaping themselves in random ways, so no two campaigns ever feel the same. What really caught my attention here is just how much control you have as an Elder. You're not just building cities or managing armies, you can literally reshape the land itself. Want to flood an enemy territory? Go ahead, raise mountains to block invaders. Sure, it's one of those games where power feels, well, powerful. There's also a ton of strategy underneath it all. Diplomacy, economy, magic research, and some detective-style intrigue where you uncover plots and betrayals. You'll lead powerful heroes called avatars into real-time battles, and each one can evolve with unique artifacts and skills. The developers, Ironward, are even planning massive multiplayer battles for up to 32 players, which sounds absolutely chaotic, but in the best way possible. Atre: Dominance Wars looks like it's going to be one of those deep, experimental strategy games that's full of lore, mystery, and magical mayhem. The kind that you'll keep thinking about long after you stop playing. MENACE. MENACE is an upcoming sci-fi turn-based tactical RPG from Overhyped Studios, the same team behind Battle Brothers, which already tells you quite a bit about the kind of experience you can expect here. It's coming to PC in early access on February 5th, 2026, published by Hooded Horse, and yes, it's also going to be available on day 1 through PC Game Pass. In MENACE, you take command of a strike force made up of Marines, misfits, and total troublemakers as you head into the Wayback System. A lawless, dangerous frontier filled with pirates, warlords, shady corporations, and something even worse waiting out there amongst the stars. The gameplay takes heavy inspiration from Battle Brothers and XCOM. Instead of controlling just a handful of heroes, you're managing entire squads, infantry, tanks, even mechs, across gritty, turn-based battles. Positioning, terrain, and line of sight all play massive roles, and suppressive fire can make or break a fight. Outside of combat, you'll spend time aboard your ship, the TCRN Impetus, managing resources, upgrading gear, and preparing your team for the next brutal mission. And just like Battle Brothers, death is permanent. Lose a squad member, and they're gone for good. It's looking like MENACE will deliver that same mix of punishing strategy and satisfying progression that Overhype is known for, just wrapped up in a gritty sci-fi world full of tough choices and even tougher enemies. I'll be covering more games just like this one, so if that's your kind of thing, come hang out and subscribe. NTL, No Time Left. NTL No Time Left looks like one of those games that takes a familiar idea and cranks it way beyond what you'd expect. It's basically FTL, but in full 3D with huge ships, tactical battles, and a lot more room for chaos. You're the captain of a capital ship caught in the middle of a galaxy-wide conspiracy, trying to survive long enough to uncover what's really going on. At its core, No Time Left is a real-time tactical roguelike, which means every decision matters and death actually means starting over. But the twist is that the combat happens in full 3D space. You'll be juggling power systems, managing fires, patching hull breaches, and trying to keep your crew alive while enemy ships hammer you from all angles. Luckily, you can pause the action anytime to plan your next move, whether that's rerouting power to shields, firing a broadside, or sending out drones to make emergency repairs. Oh, and speaking of power, that is the heart of this game's tension. You'll be constantly redirecting it between your engines, weapons, and defenses to adapt to whatever disaster hits next. One wrong move, and you might drift helplessly while your reactor overloads. There's also a layer of story and choice. Your ship's system and loadout actually affect the outcomes of random events and encounters, so no two runs will play out the same way. If you love the desperation and intensity of FTL but always wished it had a full 3D space combat, NTL No Time Left might just be your next obsession. Warhammer 40,000 Dawn of War 4. Warhammer 40,000 Dawn of War 4 is bringing the series back to its roots, and honestly, that's pretty exciting to see. King Art Games is going old school here, focusing on what made the original Dawn of War so good. Big battles, proper base building, and plenty of brutal tactical combat. The gameplay feels like a mix of strategy and chaos in the best way possible. You'll be building up your base, capturing requisition points, and managing your resources, just like in the classic 2004 game. Armies are built around specialized squads that can be upgraded with heavy weapons or different gear, giving you tons of flexibility in how you approach each battle. Stratagems also make a return, letting you unleash devastating abilities like the Space Marines' orbital bombardments once you've gathered enough resources. They cover systems back too, so positioning really matters, and those cinematic melee finishers, the sync kills, have been expanded, making close combat look as intense as ever. There's a huge single-player campaign here, with over 70 missions split across 4 branching storylines, one for each launch faction. You can play solo or co-op, and multiplayer supports 1v1, 2v2, and 3v3 matches. The fan-favorite Last Stand mode is also back, offering wave-based co-op action. At launch, you've got 4 factions: the Blood-Raven Space Marines, the Brawling Orcs, the slow but unstoppable Necrons, and the debuting Adeptus Mechanicus, who rely on networks of machines and buffs to dominate the battlefield. Citystate Metropolis. Citystate Metropolis is the next big step in the Citystate series, made once again by solo developer Andy Stark. Yep, it's one person working on the entire thing. It's planned for early access sometime in early 2026, though earlier info hinted that it might arrive even sooner, maybe late 2025. Either way, this one's shaping up to be a seriously ambitious city builder that tries to balance creative freedom with deep political and economic systems. What makes it stand out right away is the freedom that you get when designing your city. There's no rigid grid. You can zone however you want, curve roads, and shape neighborhoods organically. Buildings aren't static either. They're procedurally generated based on the details that you define. Things like the footprint, height, or even parking layouts. So your city ends up looking pretty unique, not just a copy of someone else's layout. You can even design buildings yourself, tweak colors and facades, and build custom parks. It's very much a sandbox for city architects. But underneath all that creativity, there's still a complex simulation ticking away. The game focuses heavily on socioeconomic realism, meaning your zoning and policies actually affect income inequality, gentrification, and urban decay. You'll be managing taxes, budgets, and regulations, and your choices have some real consequences. Go for unregulated, cheap housing, and your city does grow faster, but it might face some more inequality. Regulate too much, and your growth may slow, but your revenue could climb. Stellar Trader. Stellar Trader is a sci-fi 4X and space trading strategy game, and it's all about starting small and slowly becoming one of the most powerful merchants in the galaxy. Instead of being a space admiral commanding fleets, you're more of a savvy trader who uses money, deals, and influence to shape the galaxy's future, which is honestly a really refreshing approach for a space strategy game. At its core, this one's all about trading. You'll travel between star systems, buying low, selling high, and learning how each planet's economy works. Some places might desperately need fuel or food, while others have tech or resources to export. If you play your cards right, you can control entire trade routes, manipulate prices, and even deal with the black market if you're feeling bold. You start with a small, beat-up freighter, basically a flying rust bucket. and over time, you can upgrade it into massive custom-built trade ships. You'll recruit crews, install specialized modules, and kit out your ship for long-distance trading, pirate defense, or exploration. Eventually, you can even build your own orbital stations and manage their production chains, turning your business into a full-on economic empire. But what's really interesting here is how much money becomes your weapon. You won't be leading armies or fighting battles, but your influence can still shift the balance of power between galactic factions. You can fund wars, back certain governments, or manipulate supply lines to quietly decide who wins and who falls. Heroes of Might and Magic, Olden Era. If you grew up playing Heroes of Might and Magic 3 like I did, then Heroes of Might and Magic Olden Era is probably going to make you feel right at home, and maybe a little giddy inside. This isn't just another reboot or nostalgia cash grab. It's a full-blown return to what made the classics so good, built by a team that actually gets it. The game takes us back to Enroth, specifically the continent of Jadane, a familiar land to longtime fans but new territory to the Heroes spin-offs. The story kicks off with a new apocalyptic threat called the Hive, a terrifying insectoid faction that's forcing rival kingdoms to join forces, creating some pretty tense alliances. You'll get to command one of 6 factions, including the classic humans, undead, elves, dark elves, and the brand new Hive, plus a mysterious 6th faction called Schism that's still under wraps. Gameplay-wise, it's the best of both worlds, exploring the overworld for resources and treasures and diving into tactical hex grid battles where every move counts. There's also deeper hero customization, new RPG-style skills, and units that can unleash special abilities using an energy system. It's aiming for early access in 2026, complete with a single-player campaign, custom maps, and even online modes like a fast-paced one-hero mode and competitive arena mode. Anno 117, Pax Romana. Anno 117 Pax Romana is shaping up to be something really special, a blend of everything we love about the Anno series with the grandeur of ancient Rome. It's the first time the series is going this far back in time, setting us up in the year 117 AD, right in the middle of the Roman Empire's golden age. You play as a Roman governor, trying to expand your province, keeping your people happy, and maintain the delicate balance between loyalty to the emperor and your own ambitions. What's really cool though is that this time around, it's you who gets to choose your starting location. You can build in Latium, the heart of Roman civilization and its grand marble architecture and organized trade routes, or head to Albion, the wild Celtic frontier filled with marshlands, unique resources, and a more rugged way of life. Each setting completely changes how you approach city building and resource management. The usual Anno depth is all here: complex production chains, tiered citizens with evolving needs, and that satisfying loop of turning a tiny settlement into a thriving hub of trade and culture. But Pax Romana adds new twists as well. You can assign specialists to key administrative buildings for strategic bonuses, and every resource you produce now affects your economy, population, and even citizen happiness in different ways. Systemic War. Systemic War is one of those ambitious strategy games that tries to merge the brains of a grand strategy game with the intensity of real-time battles. And from what I've seen so far, it actually looks like it might pull it off. It's being developed by a Polish studio called Play of Battle, and the whole thing is set in the modern geopolitical era, covering the years between 2008 and 2025. Basically, a time full of global tension, tech races, and power plays. At its core, the game gives you full control of a nation, and you'll need to use every tool at your disposal: diplomacy, intelligence, the economy, and of course, the military. On the grand strategy layer, you'll manage your country's economy using a pretty advanced macroeconomic model, handling stuff like GDP, exchange rates, and interest rates. You can decide whether to focus on becoming a manufacturing powerhouse, a high-tech empire, or a financial hub. Then there's the political side, where you'll negotiate with other nations, forge alliances, and even dabble in hybrid warfare. Things like propaganda, information control, or covert operations. You'll also guide your nation's tech research, unlocking modern weapon systems like drones, advanced tanks, and electronic warfare tools. But when diplomacy fails, and it often will, the game zooms straight into real-time tactical battles. These fights happen on incredibly detailed maps based on real-world locations like Taiwan, Aleppo, or Warsaw, and you'll command authentic modern units such as Leopard 2 tanks, Apache helicopters, and T-90s. Transport Fever 3. Transport Fever 3 is shaping up to be the biggest and most ambitious transport tycoon game yet from Urban Games. If you've played their earlier titles, you already know what to expect: massive networks of trains, planes, ships, and trucks. But this one's taking things way further. It's all about building and managing a global transport empire that evolves over time across land, sea, and air. You'll be starting in the early 1900s and working your way through over a century of transport history, connecting cities, industries, and ports as your network grows. There's a ton of freedom here. You can build intricate railway systems, design sprawling cargo hubs, or even set up shipping routes and airways. And for the first time, we're getting helicopters and cargo trams, which should add a fun new layer to the logistics side of things. What's cool here is just how alive the world feels. Cities actually grow and evolve based on how efficient your network is. If you build a smooth, well-connected system, you'll literally see small towns transform into these huge, thriving metropolises. But if you neglect an area, it can stagnate or even decline, which makes your transport decision way more meaningful. There's a full tycoon mode for the classic challenge, a campaign mode with story-driven scenarios, and of course, a sandbox mode if you just want to chill and build without worrying about money. The new environments look stunning as well, from deserts and tropics to an all-new subarctic region. Whiskerwood. Whiskerwood is a new city building and colony sim, and honestly, it's one of the more unique takes on the genre that I've seen in a while. It's launching in early access on November 6th, 2025, and yes, it'll be available on PC Game Pass from day one. So here's the fun part. This isn't your usual city builder about humans or dwarves or whatever. In Whiskerwood, you're leading a colony of hardworking mice trying to build a home in a world ruled by cats. And these cats, known as the Claws, act as overlords, demanding taxes and tributes while your little mouse folk just try to survive and thrive under their rule. Your goal is to grow your settlement, manage resources, and build intricate production chains to keep both your colony and the cats happy. There's also exploration, expansion across different terrains, and even some mountain carving and sea travel, which gives it a real nice sense of scale. What really makes Whiskerwood stand out though is that mix of charm and tension. On one hand, you've got these adorable mice building cozy little homes in bustling towns, and on the other, you've got the looming threat of feline overlords reminding you who's really in charge. It's cute, it's clever, and it's a bit dark, and I'm really curious to see just how deep the simulation goes once it's out. Slay the Spire 2. So yeah, Slay the Spire 2 is finally happening, the sequel to one of the most addictive deck-building roguelikes ever made. The original basically invented a whole subgenre, so to say the least, expectations are pretty massive for this one. It's set 1,000 years after the first game, with the Spire reopening and that weird alien whale, Neo, making a comeback to welcome a new generation of heroes. Two familiar faces are returning, the Ironclad and the Silent. But they've got updated cards and mechanics to keep things fresh. There's also a brand new character called the Necrobinder, who fights alongside a giant reanimated hand named Asti. Yeah, you summon a big creepy hand to punch enemies and take hits for you. Easily one of the coolest ideas they've shown us so far. Mechanically though, it's still that mix of roguelike exploration and tactical card combat, but the sequel adds tons of new twists. You'll get alternate acts with entirely different maps and bosses, plus new mechanics like afflictions that mess with your cards, quests that reward you for completing specific tasks, and enchantments that give your cards risky power-ups. There's even a new Doom debuff that can straight up kill enemies when it hits their HP threshold. It's all being rebuilt in a new engine with smoother visuals, better animations, and expanded mod support. Overall, Slay the Spire 2 feels like a very smart evolution, keeping what worked while layering on enough new ideas to keep us hooked for hundreds of runs. Nova Roma. Nova Roma is an upcoming city building and strategy game from Lion Shield, the developers of Kingdoms and Castles, and this one looks like a huge step forward for them. This time, instead of managing cute medieval towns, you're rebuilding a new Roman civilization from the ground up after the Empire's collapse. You'll start with a small band of survivors searching for a fresh start, and your goal is to turn their tiny settlements into a thriving new Rome. That means organizing trade routes, keeping your citizens fed and entertained, setting up industries, and making sure your city doesn't fall apart under the weight of politics, religion, or the elements. One of the most interesting mechanics here is how you can reshape the land itself. You can build aqueducts, dams, and irrigation systems to control the flow of water, but poor planning or heavy rains can cause floods that destroy your progress. It's a neat balance of creativity and caution that makes city management feel alive. The gods also play a very big role. They're real and have opinions, so you'll want to build temples and keep them happy, or risk divine punishment like lightning storms. On top of that, you'll be juggling social and political challenges, plus defending your grown city from outside threats. Nova Roma is heading for early access on January 22nd, 2026. Demeo X Dungeons & Dragons Battlemarked. So this one's pretty exciting. Demeo X Dungeons & Dragons Battlemarked takes the tactical, cooperative gameplay that made Demeo so much fun and brings it right into the world of Dungeons & Dragons. It's officially licensed as well, which means you'll actually be exploring the Forgotten Realms, places like Neverwinter Wood and Cragmaw Castle, but with the same board game style Demeo is known for. At its core, it's basically a digital tabletop RPG. You and up to 3 friends take turns moving miniatures around, rolling dice, and using ability cards in turn-based combat. It really captures that D&D feeling of teamwork and chance, but without needing a dungeon master. Instead, it's all about collective strategy and tactical discussion as you fight through randomly generated dungeons. You'll be able to pick from classic D&D classes like Paladin, Sorcerer, Ranger, and Rogue, each with their own abilities and loot cards. And the campaigns are story-driven, complete with choice-based movements that can affect how things play out. What I like is that it works across everything. PC, consoles, and even VR, so you can either play it like a normal digital board game or fully immerse yourself like you're sitting at an actual tabletop. It looks like the perfect blend of strategy, nostalgia, and cooperative chaos, especially for anyone who's ever wanted that D&D experience without spending hours setting up the table. Falling Frontier. Now this is one of those sci-fi strategy games that really aims for realism. Falling Frontier is a real-time strategy game where every decision feels heavy because, well, everything from combat to exploration depends on smart logistics and planning. It's being developed by Stutterfox Studios and published by Hooded Horse, and it's easily one of the most detailed space RTS games I've ever seen. You start out with a single spaceport and work to expand your control across a procedurally generated star system. But here's the catch. It's not just about building fleets and blowing stuff up. You actually need to manage supply chains, fuel, ammunition, food. Every little thing has to be produced, shipped, and protected. If your supply chains fall apart, your entire operation can crumble. Recon is also a huge part of the game. You can send out probes or scout ships, but using active scans risks revealing your position. I love that ships can even hide behind planets or moons to avoid detection. It makes the battle feel so much more tactical and grounded. Then there's the ship design, where you can customize your fleet with different hulls, weapons, and systems. Every ship has a crew with unique traits, and you can even capture enemy officers for intel.
I hope you found this video helpful. Be sure to leave a comment below if any of these games caught your eye, or if there are other upcoming releases you'd like to hear about. If you enjoyed this video, consider liking and subscribing for more gaming content in the future. Thanks for watching.